Okay, everybody, today we're looking at graphing inequalities. First off, we need to know the difference between an equality and an inequality. And the way that we're going to look at that is we're just going to examine two different cases. The first one being, if we were to have a value that said that y was equal to 3, then we would know that the value of y is 3. There's no room for change. This is an equality, meaning that y is equal to 3. When we talk about an inequality, we're talking about a situation such as y is greater than 3. In this case, we're not saying that y is equal to 3. We're saying that y could be any number that's greater than 3. For example, we could say that y was equal to 4, or 10, or 1,000,000. The biggest difference between these two things is that when you're dealing with equalities, y equals 3 is set in stone. It cannot change. Whereas with an inequality, y can be any number of things. It actually has infinite options for its value. And it can be decimal as well. We could say that it could be 3.5. So when we graph an inequality, what we're really talking about is we are talking about showing visually what we have on the screen right here, that is y is greater than 3. It's just a visual representation of that idea. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just draw a quick number line just to illustrate the point of what an inequality would look like. Now on a number line, we always have to have a value of 0 because that sets where everything is in relation to that point. So we have our 0, and then off to the right, we're going to have all of our positive numbers. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the left, we have all of our negative numbers, increasing as we go to the left. -1, -2, -3, and -4. Now let's look at both of these situations. First, we're going to look at the equality of y equals 3. If we were going to graph that value on a number line, we would just simply look at the value of 3, and we would say, this is the visual representation of y equals 3, just by coloring in that one little spot that says that that is the value of y. When we graph an inequality, things look a little bit different. This time, we're still going to put our value saying that y is at 3, because that's the value where everything starts. But you'll notice that I left the circle open this time. I didn't color it in. The reason that I did that is because if we look at our inequality, it says that y has to be greater than 3. 3 doesn't count. It can't be a value. If we were to put 3, it would say that 3 is greater than 3, which makes no sense. So when we graph this, we have to keep in mind that it's greater than 3, so 3 can't be an answer, and we represent that by leaving an open circle. To show that y could be any number greater than 3, we're going to draw an arrow from our open circle in the direction of the inequality. Okay? So y is greater than 3, so we graph that by showing any number greater than 3, using the arrow, this direction. These are all the numbers greater than 3 off to the right. And that's how we graph an inequality of y is greater than 3. We're going to graph one more inequality, and the reason that we're going to graph this is because sometimes we get something slightly different than just greater than or less than 3. For example, if I were to give you another inequality, and let's say that this time it was y is less than or equal to 1. Okay? The first thing that you should notice about this is this extra piece right here under the inequality. When we have this extra piece, what we're saying is that y can also be equal to 1. So if we were to substitute in a different value for y, if we were to say, let's just put a 1 in it, for example, if this was the inequality that we were given, then we would say, yes, that is true, because 1 is either less than or it is equal to 1. So therefore, that situation is actually accurate. So let's look at how we would graph this. If I were going to graph this problem, once again I would start with the numerical value of 1, and I'd put my circle at that value. The difference is this time it says that y is less than or equal to. Now if we look at our first thing that we graphed where we had y equals 3, we used that point to represent that that was the value, and we filled in the point to represent that. So in this inequality of y is less than or equal to 1, we're going to do the same thing. Because it can be equal to 1, we're going to fill that circle in saying, yes, that's where we start, but that number also could be an answer. And then it says that y is less than, so we're going to draw our arrow in the direction of all the numbers that are less than 1. And in this case, we're talking about all the numbers to the left of that value. There we go. That is graphing inequalities. We will move on and try something new next week.